Yeah, you were waiting for some more. Let me
I'm
play it again.
serious.
Here we go.
I'm with it, man.
Yeah, so I'm playing something a little bit different today. Today, that is the theme song for my podcast. And normally, if you've listened to the podcast, my son raps over it. And
Really?
it's like, yeah. If you got, let me play. I'll do a little bit about my son. He says, we're talking about leadership, communication, public speaking, storytelling, motivation. And if you listen, you can speak out to the nation. If you're thinking about it, life is your own curation. RK3 is the show. He speaks with confidence. He speaks with that flow. And if you already know how it go, you're rolling with a pro. The RK3 show.
Nice.
So yeah,
I was
yeah.
ready to do some freestyle with that, man.
Huh?
Shit, I'm ready to do some freestyle. My name, the king of stage in my game, entertaining on the mic, known to be like.
We're playing. That's what happens when you get two musical cats together on the show, man. Yeah. Well, listen, today's awesome. I've been enjoying these conversations, man. We've been having some really good feedback, some really good conversations, and I'm loving just kind of the topics that we've been rolling through. We talked a little bit about, what did we talk about yesterday? We talked about why some people are not heard and others are. What else did we talk about?
Talk about the con game, the confidence game,
Okay.
But this is so much to offer, man.
Nice. So today, here's the deal. Today, for those of you that are on, I want you, if you're watching today, I want you to share this because this is a good one. Today, we're going to be talking about 3 mistakes that we made in building our business, our influence, and our authority. Right?
Yes.
3 mistakes that we made. But before we go into that, I just really want to share with y'all something that we got coming up. It's early in December. It's December 3rd from 5 to 7 p.m. We're going to be sharing the registration link in another 24 hours. It's The Art of You, how to build authority and influence, especially in 2021. We're doing a live workshop. If you're a coach, if you're an entrepreneur, if you're a business owner, emerging leader, speaker, you want to attend this because, it's really going to help you navigate that next phase, that next season, that next place. What are the things that you need to do in order to build even more authority and influence? What are the things that you need to do to get your story out there? Because you got a story. You got something that you're living every day. What was the title of your workshop that you talk about? Live your story,
tell your story, live your story, be your story.
Nice. Yeah. And we all have one. Well, a lot of us are afraid or nervous about sharing it for a lot of different reasons. Some of it is we don't feel like it's dramatic enough. Some of it is we don't feel like we're not confident enough to share it. We feel like somebody else does a better job of sharing their story.
Or we don't have any tragedy that, will gain attention.
Yeah.
Or, you know what, I've never done anything exciting.
Yeah.
All of those things.
Yeah. So we're gonna be talking quite a bit about that. But we got to this place, we got to this season, this space in our journey, not because we did it right. Right? But like any journey, we made some mistakes along the way. So today, I think you're gonna get 6. We're gonna talk about 3 mistakes that each of us have made in our journey on the way to building authority, building business, building influence. All right. So let's jump right in, man. So I want you to share your mess up first.
Oh, man, you can put me on blast, on Blizzard. Okay,
yeah.
Because sometimes when you're doing something new or different, or you're taking it to a level that you've never been at, you're very apprehensive about what you could do, would do, or should do. And honestly, this is the crazy thing. We have the answers, we just won't pull the trigger.
Right.
And I like to say one of my first big mistakes was not pulling the trigger on finding a voice that I could connect with, not finding a mentor. Now, I did find one, but in the beginning, I was a solopreneur. I was doing it by, any means necessary, just not the right means, trying to find my way until eventually I met up with a gentleman by the name of Dr. Willie Jolly, and I began to connect with him as well as other notable, credible leaders
Right.
in the industry. And I was fortunate that he was approachable and close enough to me that I could actually have FaceTime. Because one of the big keys, as it relates to mentorship, and people mess this up all the time, they think because the person is not in their area, in their immediate space, they can't be a mentor to you. That's not true.
Wow. Wow. So I mean, maybe you can share with us what were some of the things you said you were kind of lucky in some ways that he was in your orbit or your space. So for
Right.
those of us that aren't lucky to be in the room or in the same space or neighborhood with a Willie Jolly, with a Les Brown, with a Tony Robbins, with an Eric Thomas, what are some of the things that we can do to gain that mentorship?
Well, I know that some of the things you can do is just avail yourself, make yourself available to them. Another thing you can do is shadow. You may shadow at a distance in the beginning, but shadow, watch what they do. If they're on a broadcast, watch the broadcast. If it's a podcast, listen to the podcast. If they have materials and products, purchase them.
Right.
And the thing that's going to want to make you do that first and foremost is that there's going to be something about them that really syncs with you. And
Right.
that's hearing a voice that you can identify with. Doesn't mean that they're perfect, doesn't mean that they have all the answers. It's just that at least starting out, it's something about that particular person that you like, you can identify with. It's a similar style, a cadence, whatever it is, and you connect.
Yeah. So you said that, you kind of watch them. So here's the mistake, or here's the thing, and I'm kind of being crazy, pulling like titles and stuff all over. So here's the thing. A lot of times, we're told to watch people or look at certain things, but we have no idea what we're looking for. So what are some of the things that I should be looking at as I begin to observe others, as I build
Look,
out my business?
that's a very good question. I'm trying to share this with my team as well. You want to look for kinship, and when I say kinship, what is it that you actually have in common? Now, for Dr. Jolly, one of the things was my background is music. I sang. I had a band. I did track dates and all that stuff. He was a singer, and I had never heard of or met another speaker, a person really in business per se, like we know it today, that came from a music background, and he used his previous experience in his current business. And for
Nice.
me, that was really inspiring because that's all I did. I sang, I wrote songs, I performed, and that was number one. Number two, we're men, obviously. Number three, I would say we're African American men, so there are certain cultural similarities. And we were in the same living space. I'm in the DMV. He's in the DMV, which is DC, Maryland, and Virginia.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. Awesome, man. Awesome. And I think that resonates across the board with all of us. I mean, I could use that as one of my mistakes, but I want to do some things that are different from you so that people can get an even greater breadth of how much we messed up right there.
Sure. Hey, why not?
So all right, so that was mistake number one for you. So mistake number one for me was not getting help early enough.
Okay.
Here's what happens with a lot of small business owners, with a lot of speakers. We start the journey, and I'm sorry, choking myself. Hold on.
Hold on now. Don't get choked up. Yeah, we can get to that part of the story.
I know. Yeah. All right. So yeah, we think that we can do certain things on our own for a couple of different reasons. Number one, for some of us, it's a money issue. Right? We don't feel like we can spend money to get certain help. Right?
You're right.
The other thing for some people is that it's a lack of knowledge issue. We don't know how to acquire help without the money. So, for example, with me, I'm looking at these other businesses, and they've got admins, they've got these large teams, right? And I'm like, I'm only one person. I can't afford a team, right?
That's
So
right.
that was the first thing. But then I didn't recognize that. Listen, if you really want a team, you can build one without having a lot of money or any money. I didn't recognize, or I didn't think about the fact that I could go to any college in the area, right? If I needed somebody to help with marketing, a lot of colleges have programs where they lend out interns to businesses, right? For no cost, just as experience for them. All right.
Yes.
So they have programs, but you could also go to a college and let's just say that you wanted, video footage. There are people in the media programs that are just begging, looking for things to do off campus so that they could get footage, they can get work, they can get things on their resume so that they can have that experience. Right?
Intern.
Can I take advantage of that as a business owner? Can I leverage that as a business owner, as a speaker? And especially in that media area. Listen, if I had done that earlier, I would have had footage. I would have had speaker reel stuff that I could have done earlier. I mean, I and this is kind of, I'm going to jump the gun here. I'm leading into my second mistake, really, right? One of the, as I built certain parts of the business, I didn't have footage of me doing what I did early enough.
Okay.
Right? Because I would try to go to an event that I'm speaking at, and I'd bring a camera and I try to give it to like the event organizer or some random person and say, hey, can you take pictures or can you take video? And then when I go back, it was all blurry. It was out of focus. It was like unusable. And you'd think I would learn from that, right? No. No. I did it too often. What? Say it again?
What did you do? How did you fix that situation?
Well, it took me too long to fix it. It took me too long to fix it. So when I finally fixed it, I fixed it two ways. Number one, I did get somebody else who knew what they were doing to come along with me. That either a friend, a few times I got my brother to come along. I could kind of say to my brother or family member, hey, this is what I need you to do. And they could do it. I trained them beforehand. Okay. After a while, I got to the point where, I could pay a few bucks to other people to do it, or have a college student, have a media person come and do it. But it took me too long to get to that place because I was paying attention to the other things. There's this thing that's broken, but there's other stuff that's broken too. And so you're trying to do it all yourself. So it was like two things.
In the vein of transparency, we did not discuss this prior to coming on. Is that correct?
Right. Yeah. No. We just literally came on. We said 3 mistakes. You do 3. I do 3. Boom.
So what I want to say is that you are not alone. And why I'm saying this is because for those that are watching this broadcast, understand, like you said, we did not have it all together before we entered this industry, before we got to the level that we are now, because I did the exact kind of same thing, but I kind of did it a little different because I did some things with filming. I was dumb, and I would take my own cameras to other people's events, put up my cameras like it's my event, and just start shooting. I guess I was asking for, rather than ask for permission, I would, what's the phrase? Ask for forgiveness. And I did that numerous times. In fact, I did it so much that I wound up having footage, but then I still had other things to learn, which I don't want to take us off topic, but I do want to ask Robert another question before he asks me of the next thing. What's another word you would use for when you were trying to get those interns or those college students? What's another word that we use in the industry?
What do you mean when you're trying to
get someone else to work with you to build your team?
Man, you threw me for a loop. I don't know the word.
Outsourcing.
Outsourcing. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I know you know it. I'm just saying that.
I felt like I was in class for a second, man. I felt like you was grading me. I was under pressure.
My bad. Oh, my bad. No, I'm just saying that because for those of you that are very technical or you have a different way of communicating,
Mhm.
like he said, it's perfect. Getting a college student, you know, literally outsourcing. You may not actually build your own team where you have a payroll, but
Mhm.
outsourcing is another way of building a team without having to be completely obligated financially to other people.
Yeah.
But that's
Yeah.
down the line. That's down the line.
Yeah, yeah, and sometimes you can outsource without having to pay up front. There's sometimes, depending on what it is, you can pay people on commission or based on the results, etc. I mean, there's so many different things. I mean, nowadays, back when we started, we didn't have Upwork and Fiverr,
Nope,
right?
not at all.
We didn't have at the time. Elance was kind of one of
Right,
those things that came on before Upwork
right.
bought it. So
Yeah,
you had Elance, Freelancer Doc. We didn't have that stuff like in the early to mid 2000s. I'm sure something existed,
sure,
but
sure.
we didn't have the ability, the ease to take advantage or to leverage those things in order to build our team and build our influence. All right, so
Exactly.
I did my two. So my first two were trying to do it myself, and number two, not recording or not getting footage early enough to make to accelerate certain things.
Mhm.
All right, so
My
let's go to your
number
number
two,
two. Yep.
my number two is kind of like something that you mentioned.
Hmm.
Honestly, I was really skeptical about investing in me. I was probably looking at it as spending money, and the difference between spending and investing is totally different. When
Hmm.
you're spending money, you're basically wasting because it's gone. But when
Right.
you're investing, that's something you expect the ROI, return on your investment.
Right.
And I had the wrong mindset. Today I always talk about the right mindset is all you need. But then I had the wrong mindset. I didn't want to spend where I should have been thinking, how can I invest in me?
Yeah.
Because once you learn it, no one can take it away from you. So
Right.
investing was my second biggest mistake. Not that I didn't want to do it, but I thought it was too much, or it was asking too much of me. I want the results, but I didn't want to do what it took to get the results.
Right.
So investing.
Wow. Wow. So I guess the question is, how do you know when to invest?
For me, I'll just use myself as an example again, and I'm hoping that some of you out there that are watching this, you'll be able to identify with me. When you love a thing so much, you want a thing so much, you desire it, and you know that, you know what, I'm good at this, then you know that you only owe it to yourself to go to the next level. You
Right.
only owe it to yourself to take it to the next level. And how you do that is by just saying, you know what, I'm worth it.
Right.
And making that investment. I don't care. Listen, I know you may think this is extreme, but I have done it. I have invested 15,000, 30,000, $7,000 in my speaking business over the last 20 some odd years. I'm
Hmm.
talking about in one shot increments sometimes. Yeah, there were the $2,000 investments and the $500 investments, but I have invested large sums of money
Yeah.
over my career. And I'm not suggesting anyone drop 30,000 or 15 at this stage, but I'm just saying you have to be willing to invest in you.
Yeah. So I'll share an investment story, and it's kind of like um, a good bad, right? I invested in a coach because I needed a coach.
Hmm, hmm.
I was at a place where I was growing my business, and I knew that I needed a business coach, and so I invested $18,000 one year in a business coach. Now I didn't have $18,000,
Right, right, right.
right? I could have put that money towards a different use. I could have done different things with my family, with my business, and and to be quite transparent, investing that money caused
Uh-huh.
some other issues
And
in
what
my business.
Okay.
Here's the thing. The investment of that money didn't shift my business in the way that I initially intended it to or wanted to.
Okay.
It did shift my mindset drastically, irreversibly. Because I made that investment, my mindset about business shifted like crazy. Right?
Okay.
As a matter of fact, I had to call or text my first business coach a couple of years ago because we went through this process of like what my fees were and how
Right.
low I was charging, right?
Yeah.
And my mindset couldn't see charging more, right? So we ended up with he asked me to double my fee like twice.
Okay.
And the second time it was like doubling it was we ended up at $250 an hour. And I was
Okay.
like, man, I can't charge anybody $250 an hour. And he was like, well, here's what you got to do. You have awkwardness in the space. Right. And so what I want you to do is write my fee is $250 an hour, put it on an index card, slap it on your monitor, and I want you to say it like 10 times a day. Now, I started doing that and I ultimately increased my fee, but I then changed to package rates as opposed to hourly rates. It wasn't until about 6 years later, I was working and a company called me and they said, "Hey, we need you to do some coaching with one of our people here." And I immediately said, "Oh, for this X amount of hours, it was 6 hours at the time. It's $1,500." And I just spit it out. I didn't even think about it. It was like
Okay.
halfway through that I recognized that I did the math. I'm like, wait a minute, 6 hours, $1,500. That's $250
Yeah.
per hour.
Yeah.
Right? So I was like, woo! And I had to email and text my coach. I'm like, Coach, listen, now I was past the struggles, the
Right.
financial struggles, but so the mindset stuff that started then finally manifested 4, 5, 6 years later, or it was already manifesting. I was building at this point. I'm at the point where I can say it and it rolls off my tongue. I didn't even think about it.
Yeah.
I wasn't like trembling about charging somebody that much.
You were standing strong in your feet. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, by that point, I thought that fee was low. Right? So man, it's important. I mean, all the things that we're talking about, we're kind of like encapsulating everything here once. As you begin to build authority, as you begin to build influence, sometimes you've got to invest, and sometimes you may not see the immediate result of that investment.
And
But
that investment speaks to your authority, actually, because you will have the influence when you're confident and
Yeah.
comfortable with who you are, what you do, and where you're taking people. That's just how it is, folks. That's just how
Yeah.
it is. Now, I don't know what our time looks like, but I would say that let me ask you, what was your third challenge?
My third mistake that I made was it revolved around content. I did not create content, and I'll be specific. I didn't write a book early enough.
Okay.
I didn't create content that shared what I stand for, what I'm passionate about, and how I serve early enough. I was just doing the work. I was doing the day-to-day work with people at events, at workshops, at training, but I didn't have collateral that
Okay.
solidified my authority and expertise in a specific area.
Wow. Okay. I can definitely relate to that. I had it, but one of my challenges were you've already mentioned this. I'm gonna try to think of something else. One of my challenges was I was slow to take action, and part of that was because I was not scared in a physical fear, but I was mentally scared to make moves, to make that investment. But if
Yeah.
I had to say another thing, for me, a third thing would be trying to do everything, meaning speaking, writing, doing videos, and for some of us, we can, because you can create a modified version. So what I'm specifically meaning that I would do videos I felt I had to post daily. I would do a newsletter, full-fledged newsletter, and I was just trying to do everything, and it wasn't naturally what I do.
Yeah.
Now, of course, I've gotten better over the years, and I know how to once a week I'll send out a newsletter. To do a video on your phone takes no time. You can
Yeah.
speak and just send it, so it's easier. But I was overwhelmed, and I refused to see it. So the content was coming out very sloppy. It
Yeah.
really wasn't saying anything. I'm speaking to every topic outside of my main focus, and that was a big
Yeah.
no-no.
Yeah. So, man, I'm going to speak to that really quickly. I mean, we got to maybe about 2 or 3 minutes here. That goes right back to my first mistake, not building a team soon enough. So right now, I'm creating videos. I'm doing writing stuff. I'm doing things in my Facebook group. I'm sending out newsletters. I am putting stuff on social media, right? But
Right.
here's the thing. Shh, don't tell nobody. I don't do all of that myself. Right? So it's like, there's stuff that's being posted on LinkedIn or whatever. So, I'm involved in the process, but ultimately my team is doing that. Right?
Gotcha.
There's stuff that my newsletters that go out through my mailing list. I'm involved and I kind of do some of the strategic stuff, but ultimately my team is doing that. Right,
That's what's
my executive admin, she in our meetings we put that together. We've got a form where she's like, what are the themes? What are the things that you want? Boom, I'll put all that stuff. She fills in. She writes a lot of the things, right? And she does the execution. So that literally saves me. Man, sometimes you think it's a short amount of time, but you at 20 minutes added up, in like by 5 or 10 times over the course of a week. Right?
You're right.
I've got several hours back that I can now focus on the strategic part of business and building that authority and influence. And I think I'm still not perfect at it. I'm still working at thinking with a CEO mindset, even inside of my family. Right?
And the thing I think people need to understand that you may have a slightly different process or maybe entirely different process than other people have, but you are still growing and still going, just as I am. I'm still going, I'm still growing, I'm still learning, I'm still evolving. And it's because the world that we live in is ever changing. We didn't have all this technology before, but we were in the game. But now that we have technology, we're still in the game. There may come a time where we're using holographic images and we'll still be in the game. So don't worry about, well, I don't have this, I don't have that, I don't know this. It's a ever growing and ever learning process. So just get in the game, stay in the game, listen to someone that you can identify with or someone that has a voice that you resonate with.
Right.
Learn as much as you can and keep growing. There's no magic pill that says once you take this pill, you have all the answers. It just does not work that way.
Yeah. Listen, man, I've loved this with you because I think one of the things that I did not really do early on, and this may be a fourth mistake, I didn't pay attention to the mistakes of others. Right? Yeah. My head is down. I'm inside it. I'm trying to figure it out, and I'm wading through this thing. I'm Googling. I'm doing all this stuff, but I am not modeling or looking at the mistakes that others are saying. Hey, don't do that. I'm not paying attention. I'm not saying that you have to be scared because of mistakes, but yeah, pay attention. Especially when you start to find mentors and you kind of see people who are in a similar space or are in a space where your destination is or where you endeavor to be. What are the mistakes that they made? Then don't do that.
Exactly. Yeah, you're right. That's great advice, honestly. Yeah. So if you guys see what we're saying and you find that you've done it, you want to learn more about it, you want to learn how to go about it, highly encouraged, check out the upcoming workshop on December 3rd, the Art of You. And as Arcade 3 throws up the graphic, you'll see that this is something that you will benefit from in ways that you may not really realize. We've taken the time to put together some of our best stuff, and we really want you to walk away with so many things that you've never seen before, never heard before, or you've never seen and heard them the way we're going to present them to you. Yeah. And, start 2021 the right way.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, man. Well, listen, today is Wednesday. We're going to be doing this thing again tomorrow. Let me kind of look over at my list here of our topics. All right. So we've spoken today about 3 mistakes that we made or 3 things that we should have done earlier. Let's talk tomorrow about some mistakes, but with regard to our online presence.
Yikes! Do we have to?
What? Okay, yeah. Listen, this is a pandemic. We're home. Everybody's here. Everybody's fighting for space in the virtual world. What were some of the things that we didn't do correctly early enough that maybe have hindered our own growth in the online space? And so we'll talk about that a little bit more specifically. Let me look at the calendar. Tomorrow, what time are we on? What time are we on?
In
tomorrow?
The morning.
We in the morning. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So
instead of Good Morning Washington, be Good Morning RK3 and SCC.
Boom. There we go. That's what I'm talking about. So 9 a.m. 9 a.m. So if you're on LinkedIn, if you're on Facebook, if you're on Periscope, if you're on YouTube, we're going to be on at 9 o'clock. So actually, we're going to be doing 9 o'clock on Thursday and Friday. So set your calendars. Log into our profiles here, and you're going to get the information. You're going to be having some amazing conversation with us as we go back and forth and we rock this thing out. So listen, I'll see y'all tomorrow. Go ahead, man.
I'll have my anchor attire on tomorrow, like any other morning show.
All right, man. Well, listen, this has been awesome. I look forward to seeing y'all tomorrow. We're going to rock out, and we'll see you in the morning at 9 a.m. RK3, SCC. See ya.
Keep the brain.